Hello and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything Podcast, where we talk about video games, movies, comics, and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate having to take a test as part of the job interview process.
And my name is Kyle, and today I hate the hours preceding a night where you know you aren't going to get enough sleep.
I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that that has something to do with the play that you've been directing recently.
Yes. So a couple days this week I had to get up at 5 a.m. And so like the night before I knew I was not going to get enough sleep. And so just like having the knowledge you're not going to get enough sleep and then trying to go to sleep, those two things do not go together. Yeah. So then you just wind up getting even less sleep because you're thinking about how little sleep you're going to get.
Sure. I mean, not on that heavy of a note, but I go through that all the time. Even if it's a small thing of instead of going to bed at 11:30, I'm going to end up going to bed at midnight. I'm already thinking about, those lost 30 minutes. I'm not going to be able to make it through the next day just because of those 30 minutes. And instead it ruins my entire night.
Right. So what's up with the job interview thing?
So obviously I've been looking for a job for several weeks now. I have some very good traction moving with a couple of different places, but now I'm really late in the process where it's they're down to just a couple candidates. They're looking to make a decision within the next week or two. And one of the places, my next interview, I need to go in and I need to make a 10-minute presentation about a topic. And that topic needs to be related to my current job or what this job would be. And I'm not saying that it's not worthwhile. I get it because they're looking to make sure that, I made it through all the rounds to make they know I'm not an idiot. They know what I'm talking about. I have good experience. They know I fit with the team and I've met the team members. And now they just want to make sure that my job acumen actually meets the levels of what I and others have said my job acumen meets. So I understand it, but it doesn't make it any more annoying that I need to go in and do a bullshit presentation to get this job. It's just annoying. It's just annoying. It's one of those things where I get it, but I still wish that I didn't have to do it.
Sure.
But I know I've heard from a lot of folks in the sales industry and that work in sales at my company right now. They had to do something very similar to get their jobs. But my thing there is but they're salespeople. That is a huge function of their job, is making these presentations to people. That's not part of my job. So I guess it's I don't even know, to prove that I do have the interpersonal skills that I say I do, but you'd think my 15 years of acting experience would be enough evidence of that. I don't know. Want to make sure I'm able to research and I write well, but I've given them writing samples. I don't know. It just seems I don't know. It's an annoying thing. And I know lots of jobs that hire writers make you do a writing assignment first. And it is. It's one of those where I get the point of it, but it doesn't make it any less tedious to do. So that's where I'm coming from. So what else is going on with you other than the play? Or I guess let's talk about the play first, because we've talked about it leading up a little bit. So how did everything go?
It went pretty well. Opening night was a little shaky. We had a really small audience because it's a Thursday night. And so the kids weren't getting all the feedback on their comedy. The jokes, people, there was chuckling and stuff in the audience, but when you're talking about 39 people in this huge auditorium, the sound, they're not getting the feedback. They need to keep them energized, and they were super nervous, so they screwed up a few lines and skipped a couple things.
Okay.
The first night, but then the second night, Friday night, they did a really nice job. It was a really solid performance. We had over 60 people in the audience, so almost double the first night, which was good. And they were laughing and they were really feeding off of that energy that they were getting from the crowd, and so that was really good. And then last night was the final performance, Saturday night, and the weather was really bad. It was super windy and raining really, really hard. So we only had in the mid 50s of people there, so it was a little less than Friday night. And I would venture to say a third of them had already seen the show because they're just family members of the kids. So they'd already seen it, so they're not going to be laughing out loud. So, and the kids they were all in their own heads about it being the last show, and their Thanksgiving break had just started, so they're all probably thinking about that too. And we had some arguments in the cast during the week, and my co-director and we tried to patch that stuff up, but I know some of that was still bothering a few of them. And so I think they were just really in their heads about it. And so they were stumbling over probably like every 20th line. They would stumble on something. And like their timing between the lines, like it was just off. It was like everything was coming to them like a split second too late. But so they kind of, I went back there at intermission and talked to them, and they kind of shook it off and ended strong in the second act, which was good. So they at least got to kind of end in a way that they're happy with. But yeah, I think they did a nice job, and it was my first time designing a set by myself.
Yeah.
And the gentleman who used to help, Dick, his daughter has her own theater program up north, and so he's helping her now instead of us. And so he did pop by and see the show, and I was like, you gotta give me some constructive criticism here, Dick. You gotta help me out. And he did. He had a lot of nice things to say about the set. Cool. And offered a couple suggestions, which were helpful. But yeah, I think overall, it went pretty well. I think people enjoyed it. It was a nice, quick, easy show to sit and watch. It was like just over an hour, and then with an intermission, it was a little under an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think people enjoyed it.
What about you guys? Still do shows for the students and stuff?
Yeah, we had some really good feedback from a lot of the staff that got to see it, and then obviously the student body really enjoyed it because it didn't overstay its welcome. Like I could tell by the end of it, they were starting to like really lose their focus because but managing to get a full hour of focus out of those kids watching is pretty good. So yeah, I think for the most part, most of the student body enjoyed it. Those of them that weren't just sleeping the whole time.
Right. There's always some bad eggs. There's nothing you can do about it. It is nice, though, if Bellbrook's anything like it was when I was there, which, granted, was over 10 years ago. But really, I mean, when I started school, it was 15 years ago, and that's terrifying. But because it's like a good school, it has a good academic background, the kids tend to be more engaged than I would think like an average high school that you're gonna go and no one gives a shit. At least like with the fall play, because it's more of a comedy, and then the spring musical, like they're more invested in those types of things. Yeah. So, but yeah, so you had your group of kids, your team, if you will. I also have my team currently playing, my fantasy football team. Strong. Yeah, right? I'm trying to tie it together here. So I actually somebody reached out, listener of the podcast, and was just like, I know you said you weren't going to talk about your fantasy football team, but I'm curious to know how they're doing. So we're actually recording this on a Sunday afternoon, so all my guys are currently playing. The only reason I bring it up now is because this week I'm playing my father in fantasy football. And we played back in like week 3 or 4 of the season, so about 2 months ago, and I crushed him. And I'm currently on the path to crush him again.
Well, he didn't even want to do fantasy football, did he? You kind of had to twist his arm into it.
I didn't. Yeah, maybe I did. Because like I asked him at the end of it, because this is my 3rd year playing in kind of my quote unquote family league. So it's my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and then some extended family members and some friends of his. And so we wanted to go from 8 teams to 10 this year. And one of the guys that was going to join wasn't able to. And so basically, like, we had 2 empty spots. So I've been, yanking my dad's arm to do it because him and I like football. Every year we do a pick winners between the two of us, where, like, every week there are, like, 13 to 16 games, and we pick who we think is going to win each game, assign it a number value based on, like, how confident we are. And then, each week you get points. And he typically beats me in those. And so I was like, well, hey, I'm good at fantasy football. You come do this with me. And he didn't want to because, like, he doesn't follow players. He knows the teams, obviously. He's been following football for a long time. But he doesn't think about the players the way that you do in fantasy football.
Sure.
But I was just like, hey, I'm signing. You're doing it, period. So he was like, yeah, okay, fine. So I've been helping him, like, figure out how to set his lineup. And as bye weeks come by where his guy might not be playing, I'm trying to help him figure out how he needs to go and change it. So he's currently 5-5. So he's in the middle of the pack. Right now, he's on track to make the playoffs, which start in the week 14 of the football season, which is in 3 weeks. So he's 5-5. I'm 8-2. I'm in first place. I mean, I'm just
no big deal.
There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just good. What am I going to say? But there's another guy in the league who's also 8-2, which is pretty rare for two teams to have such great records. But I beat him, and I've scored more total points than him. So right now I'm in first place, and he's actually in third because it's 2 divisions. Anyway, I'm getting into the weeds more than I need to. But it'll be really interesting because me and the other guy who's 8-2, we play in the final week of the regular season. So if we both win every remaining game the next 2 weeks, the winner of that game could potentially decide who's in first place and who's in third place going into the playoffs. So okay. I want to win. And so Dad's 5-5. I'm 8-2. We're playing this week. Dad right now has 54 points. He's projected to score 98 total points because some of his guys haven't played. The games are ongoing. I right now have 74 points, so I'm winning by 20. I'm projected to score 154. So I'm projected to beat him by like over 50 points, close to 60 points. So it's not looking great for Pops, but who knows? You never know what's going to happen. So what's fun is we're recording this podcast as the games are happening. Yeah. So we'll check in at the end and see what it looks like. I'm not going to look at my phone for the next 2 hours as we talk, and we'll come back to it at the end, and we'll see who's on track to win this week. I'm guessing it's going to be me.
And you get to rub his face in it next weekend when you see him.
So, yes. So kind of before we dive into what we've been playing and watching and whatnot, give me an update on the wedding planning. Anything new going on with you guys?
Yeah, so I think we've actually, Kara's sitting next to me. Babe, we locked down the tent and all that stuff that's locked in. Yeah, so we got this big canvas tent.
Welcoming special guest recorder, Kara, soon to be. Actually, I don't know if she's taking her last name or not. That's up to her. But
yeah, she is because her last name's Dope. So I'm sure she'll take it.
But that doesn't make sense. That sounds like a pretty awesome last name.
Well, no, I said our last name, like as in yours and mine.
Okay. I thought you said her last name is Dope, and I was like, well, okay, well then why would she want to change it? But yes,
no, her last name's Freeman, not Dope.
I know. No, I know. I meant her last name is Dope, not literally her name is Dope, but like as an adjective describing her name, it is Dope.
I mean, it's fine. Her last name's fine. It's not Castle fine, but it's fine.
Castle's pretty awesome. Although Kelly complains because I took this little like online name test. I don't know what inspired me to do this, but I wanted to see like who else is named Shea Castle. And so it's based on like census data. And it said it's all still estimations, but it's fairly accurate based on like 2014 data in the U.S. And it said, we estimate that there are one or fewer people named Shea Castle in the United States. I was like, well, there's definitely one. There isn't fewer than one. But Kelly checked hers, and it was like, however, like 1,300 people named Kelly Castle. And she checked Kelly Brumbach, her maiden name now, just to see, and it was like 400. She was like, damn it, my name was cooler when it was Kelly Brumbach than when it was Kelly
more
Castle.
Exclusive.
But of course, I felt super badass that I'm potentially the only Shea Castle in the United States. And if there's another one, it's probably a girl anyway, so.
That's true.
So yeah, tell me what's going on with the wedding stuff.
Yeah, so we got the tent, and then that comes with, like, the head tables and chairs and all the other tables and chairs, and then the dance floor and stuff. That's all included, and, like, some heaters if we need them and all that. But, yeah, so it's, like, this big, pavilion-style canvas tent that we'll be using to have the reception in. And, like, they come and they set everything up, and then they come and they take everything down, too, as a part of the package deal, which is nice. So I guess that stuff's kind of locked in now, and I finally got, this is the most exciting part, I finally got the last piece of my armor, my helmet that was on back order. I got it in.
Oh, yeah.
I showed it to you when we started our call, and it looks pretty awesome. Although
that is dope.
It is, yeah, that is dope. Because I got an arming cap with my my big order of armor and stuff to kind of protect my head from the helmet, but it's actually padded really well inside, and it's a good thing it is because the arming cap does not fit on my head underneath the helmet
Okay.
because I have a fat head. So
Right.
but yeah, so I have the full set now, which is pretty cool.
Have you put the whole ensemble on?
Not with the helmet. I haven't put it all on since the second day I had it because it's such a process, and it's because it's all covered in grease to keep it from rusting, and my hands are. I just touched the helmet, so my hands are all. Ugh, I don't like that feeling.
Well, and you have to be careful and wipe it down afterwards because your hands, the grease on your hands and the oils and stuff, is bad for the metal.
Right. So yeah, I got that, and we're one step closer.
Yeah.
Also, this is also pretty exciting. Kara and I, because we've been wanting to kind of play the Switch more in docked mode, especially when we have people over. We want to be able to have people play Switch stuff. So we found these wired controllers on Amazon. I forget what company they're by, because there is officially Nintendo licensed third party stuff, which sounds anachronistic, but they farmed out some cheaper accessory options, but they are officially Nintendo certified, I guess I should say, and it's Hori, or I think Hori, Hori, and they make some nice stuff, but these are not them. These are another company, but I got a red one that has a bunch of Mario decal stuff on it. And they're basically just Pro controllers, but they're wired. And the Switch only has two USBs on the side, and I think one in the back on the dock. So you can only really use a maximum of 2 or 3 wired controllers at a time. But so I got one, and Kara got one. Kara's is a Zelda one, and it has it's Breath of the Wild one, and it has a gold D-pad, which looks really cool. But obviously the listeners can't see it, but I'll hold my red one up for you.
Selfishly for me. So it has a lot of the Mario icons. So there's the fire flower, stars, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it looks almost engraved on the controller.
Yeah, and it's got that it's that plastic that feels like a halfway between plastic and rubber. That soft kind of velvety feeling plastic.
Sure. Yeah.
It's that all over. So it
it's
feels
not
pretty good.
Slick. There's a little bit of resistance on it.
Yes. Yeah. And it came with 3 different types of analog stick replacements. So there's convex, concave, and flat. I have the concave ones in because I like the way how that my thumbs sink into them.
Right.
I feel like I have more control. The buttons feel really good. It doesn't feel super cheap. I would say that the triggers are the only thing that I might have a complaint about. Again, I haven't used it practically yet, but because it feels it looks like they should go in a lot farther than they do when you actually press them. So that's maybe the only issue I might have with it. But the different these were only $30, and an actual Pro controller for the Switch, I mean it's wireless, but an actual Pro controller for the Switch is $70.
Right. So I was gonna ask, is that the reason why you guys got these? Is just because of the price?
Yeah, but they also don't have the total feature set. Again, they're wired, not wireless, but they come with 10-foot USB cords, which is more than long enough. They don't have the amiibo functionality that the Pro controller has. They don't have the 3D or 4D rumble or whatever Nintendo's calling it. And they don't have the motion controls for them. So they don't have those kind of 3 key Nintendo feature sets. But if I was using a Pro controller, I would not want to use the motion controls. I don't care about that. And I would rarely ever be tapping an amiibo while playing a game. I just that is so few and far between in terms of frequency in which I would need to use that. That is whatever. And the rumble isn't a huge deal to me either. So, $30. I highly recommend them. They're, what are they? They're not.
Doesn't say it. They don't have
Power A. Yeah, Power A. I forget who was selling them. Yeah, I forget who was selling them on Amazon, but they're Power A brand. And this one does say Nintendo, licensed by Nintendo. I think that's just because of the decals on it. I think.
Okay.
The Mario decals on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume.
But these are like the Nintendo endorsed brand.
No, Hori is the Nintendo endorsed brand.
Oh,
these are not those.
Okay.
This is Power A.
Okay.
So I think the only reason on the little back sticker it says licensed by Nintendo, I think is because
it's actually licensed.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And apparently these work like as a gamepad for PC or whatever because it's just mini USB to USB.
Right.
So these work as a regular gamepad for PC as well.
You guys haven't used them yet?
Not yet. I ordered Skyrim for the Switch, and it should be here on Tuesday, and I will play it docked with this controller to kind of test it out a bit. But we mainly got these for, like, if people come over and want to play Mario Kart, any kind of party games, we have that option, and they're significantly cheaper than buying extra Joy-Cons. Because the extra Joy-Cons are like $80 or $70.
Yeah.
So it's a cheaper option to be able to kind of play in a party setting where, you know, complete feature sets aren't really that important.
Right. Yeah, I need to think about that because Kelly and I have talked like on and off about, because I really want to buy a Switch, and unfortunately they're not really doing any Black Friday deals in any significant way to make it worthwhile. So I think I'm still going to try to get one after Christmas, you know, with any Christmas money that I get.
Sure.
And I hadn't factored in the fact that their peripheral stuff is so fucking expensive.
It's very expensive.
And plus, they're like, you know, I want to get Zelda, I want to get Mario, I want to get Mario and Rabbids, and then I also want to get Mario Kart because Kelly will play that with me. Like, she's super excited to play some Mario Kart, but we gotta get a second controller if we want to do that. And I don't know that I want to go buy another, you know, $70 Pro controller or even worse, additional Joy-Cons and stuff. So it's so stupid. It's annoying.
Yeah, and
other crap's way overpriced.
You're gonna need to drop money on a micro SD card. Which, I mean, you can get like a 128 gig micro SD card like we did for like $30.
What's the stock? What's the stock?
It's only
Switch?
like 32 gigs or something,
if
that. And like 8 of that's taken up with system memory or something crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have those big installs that, you know, other games have.
I mean, not if you're buying the carts.
Right.
If you're doing digital, but that's different.
Well, and I definitely wouldn't be. But I would want to get some of the, like, whatever they call it, the Nintendo... Like, I would want to get some SNES games and that kind of thing. What do they call it? Their digital store?
The eShop?
Whatever that's called. Sure, eShop. It's called something else. Like, it's Nintendo blank. But it doesn't matter.
Classics?
Sure, maybe yes. Nintendo Classics.
I don't remember either.
That's what it is.
And there's rumors that they're going to be bringing, like, N64... games and stuff to that.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. I would assume that they will do that at some point. I mean, they're bringing everything else over, so... Right. I mean, isn't there already some GameCube stuff?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So speaking of the Switch, have you been doing anything on Switch? What you been playing?
Kara's been playing a ton of Stardew Valley. She's on summer of year 2 now, and she's only been like hardcore playing it for like a week so far. So she's been playing that on the Switch, which means I have not been playing anything on the Switch. So I've been playing more Fallout 4 modded. I did the Nuka World DLC, and I beat it today, and I'm level 66 or 67 now in that game. So I'm way up there.
Did you play the Nuka World on console, or was this your first time playing?
I did, but I never beat it.
Okay.
So this is my first time beating it, and because like you have to find all the star cores and then go to this thing and plug them all in, and then you get the Nuka-Cola Quantum power armor, which looks fucking cool. And so I did get all the star cores, and I got that today. I
loved that DLC.
Armor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I at least like to start with the different factions and stuff, and really I liked exploring the different areas of the park. I thought those were all really well realized. The like I guess you would call it post credits of the Nuka World, I didn't like, because I was playing like a good guy character that I could justify the Nuka World stuff as like I'm trying to infiltrate it to shut it down. But then afterwards, like the only continuation of it is set up raider outposts and like take over your settlements and make them into raider settlements. And I didn't want to do that with my character. So it like, I don't know. I feel like I didn't get as much out of the post game as someone else might if they were playing a bad dude.
Well, okay. So, my first time through, I sided with. I was trying to keep all three of the factions happy and not siding with a specific one, and then I didn't go back to it because I was on console. But so this time, I have this weapon, and it's a machine gun, and all of the bullets explode. And do additional area of effect damage, and I have like 3 billion shots with it. So I was in the market area of Nuka World, and I talked to some person, and they're like, yeah, could you just like kill all these guys and like set all of us like slaves free? That'd be great, thanks.
Right.
And it started this quest, like kill these people. So I used the machine gun and I murdered every person in Nuka World, and it was because I looked up a guide to kind of see like what would happen if I actually did it, if I went through with it, and the number feels right. It said there's like over 120 like raiders of different factions and stuff, and like including like the bosses that you have to kill, and that felt about right. Right. Because I definitely killed over 100 people. Because like I killed Porter Gage or whatever first, the dude that's like helping you out, and then I had that machine gun, so I just stood at the top of the whatever the player home that you get.
Sure.
And they just like kept pouring in at me, and I was just mowing them down with my explosive machine gun. Right. It was a good feeling. It was pretty good. So I did that.
Did you explore the outside area, like outside of the park in the like wilderness and stuff?
Yeah, I've done more of that. Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't more there. Like it was a lot of open space, and the enemies that are out there are fucking tough too.
Yeah, they're really
like the
hard.
little
the crickets.
I get like the grass harp. Yeah, those were pains in the ass. They're so fast.
Well, so there was one like. Actually, they give you a lot of XP for beating them because they're really tough.
Yeah.
But B, if you cook their meat, it heals 250 health, which is like one of the biggest heals you can get from cooking.
Nice. See, I never really played around with that because I ended up with so many stim packs. I have like 600 stim packs in my game.
I just do it for the XP.
Right. That's a good idea. Yeah, I think I ended and I was like level 68 or something. And I at least on PS4, I haven't even touched Far Harbor yet. I need to go back and do that, but
that's my next stop.
I need to make sure I turn my mods off before I try to do that because I want to get those trophos. But in the Nuka World, there's this like haunted house area. Did you go through that?
Haunted house area.
It's like a guided tour of some haunted house, but it's all broken, and so you get to the end and you're trying to like figure it out. It's just one of those like little ambient things that you find that kind of has a story that you piece together. Okay. Anyway, I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of that in the vanilla game, but I feel like there wasn't as much ambient storytelling as maybe in previous Fallout games. But this I thought was a really good example. So if you are going back to the Nuka World area, look for the haunted house. There's a handy, or not a handy bot, but it's one of the like security bots. I don't remember what they're called, but you have to buy tickets from him, and he doesn't have any to sell you. And so like if you sneak around behind him, there's just a bunch of them on the ground, and so you can just pick up a ticket and give it to him to go in.
Nice.
So I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I did that. I did. Unturned has been getting a lot of updates. So I played some more of that the last couple days, and I'm up to 490 hours played in Unturned.
Yeah, man.
You
gotta get up to 1,000.
I'm gonna focus on the 500 first, and then maybe I'll set my sights on 1,000. Well, because they've added a bunch of stuff. Like they added, because for a while there, you like putting buildables on vehicles was possible. It was just really difficult. And like collision was bad, and like the use of it, actually using them was kind of like weird. But they added, because there have been trains in the game for a while, but none of them work, and so he added a drivable train on the Russia map, and it has just 3 empty cars, like the flatbeds attached to it, so you can like build a base on the train and then drive it across. It basically bisects the map kind of corner to corner, and you can just drive it from wherever to wherever, and then hop on, like stop it wherever you want, and then hop into a town, loot it, run back to your train base, and then kind of keep going. So that's pretty sweet. That's what I've been messing around with. I've been trying to make a base on there. They added it's a bunch of small tweaks and stuff, some guns and some new objects and items that have different like communication functionalities and different ways to play the game. But he's working on this huge update right now. It's a gameplay overhaul that's like completely different animations and like more involved gun animations. Like
okay,
so right now like you fire a machine gun and like you get the muzzle flash and the jump and stuff, but the gun itself doesn't animate. And so he's adding like the chamber moving and then like bullet shells flying out the side and then like tinkling as they hit the ground and like populating on the ground and stuff. So he's adding things like that. Also just tweaking the animations and adding it seems like has a new graphics engine almost, or a new lighting engine or something in some of the clips he's shown. But yeah, I don't know. It also seems like he's added a lot of quality of life things. Like there's a UI thing that I think he just ripped the idea straight from PUBG, because you could hotkey items before, but you couldn't see what the item hotkey was unless you like went into your inventory, and then you could see what it was hotkeyed to. But now it's like a little display on the bottom, and it looks very PUBG like. Yeah, okay. It shows your hotkey in the item there, which is helpful. A bunch of just he's still plugging away at small quality of life
that's
improvements.
Interesting to me. Are there microtransactions in the game?
Yeah, it's all cosmetics.
Gotcha. Okay, we've talked about that. I was wondering like what's keeping him going about this, but there must be still strong enough player base that are buying those cosmetics to kind of keep the development to make sense.
For
That's
sure.
cool.
And, I mean, he does community sourced skins too, and there are like community sourced boxes specifically that you can get as random drops, or you can just buy. Yeah, I don't know. He's still going strong, man. It
sounds like there are plenty other people like you that are putting 400 plus hours into that game for sure. If it's because that game's been out for several years at this point now.
Yeah, and I mean I've probably spent like I don't know $25 on cosmetic boxes and keys to open them and stuff like that. I probably over the course of 490 hours I've spent $25 because the game I bought the gold edition or whatever because it's free to play, but you can buy the gold edition, which gives you like a couple of gold skins, and it's just like a way to support him. So I did that initially, and then so I probably only spent like $30 on the game total. It's just I don't mind dropping a couple bucks here or there to make sure he gets to keep going with it. Yeah,
it's like a tip jar. Yeah. Like, if he's going to keep supporting it and you're still enjoying that content, tossing a couple bucks. I know that's how it was. I mean, the only game that I've gotten super hardcore into in any capacity like that was Mass Effect 3 multiplayer that I was still playing for years and years. Where, like, they released all that DLC for free for the multiplayer. And so every time it came out, I'd buy a couple of loot boxes as, like, a tip jar. Like, hey, here's $5 as a thanks for doing this free stuff. Right. And none of it was like vital to spend money on, but it's nice. Bless you, Kara.
Kara sneezed. My editing will probably take that out, but now you all know. Peek behind the curtain.
Well, then now I'm going to ignore anything she says just in case people can't hear it. And so that like...
Oh, I do that anyways.
If she says something and people can hear it, we're going to sound like the biggest dicks that we're just completely ignoring what she's saying. So I guess on my side, still plugging away at, popping in Destiny 2 every Saturday morning to play for an hour and make sure I get all my rewards from the hard work my clanmates are doing that I'm not contributing to. Right. I've played now the second and third episodes of Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale series.
Oh, okay.
It's still like I'm not enjoying it. I'm just kind of doing it because, I paid for it and there's a platinum trophy waiting for me at the end. So I will beat episodes 4 and 5 before the end of the year. At least I'm going to try. Nothing really to add from what I had said about the first episode, however many, recordings ago. It's the humor just doesn't really work. It's still buggy as hell. There's some smart writing between the characters, but it's just not executed perfectly well, and there's very little actual gameplay. I will say that in the action sequences, because there's more action in this than most of the other Telltale games I've played. Because like I haven't played Batman, I'm sure there's a fair amount in that one, but you're not like doing much during the action, like where they're punching and shooting and jumping and kind of flying all over the place. It's all just QuickTime event stuff, but It does feel like active at least. So whenever those kinds of things happens, I feel more involved.
They did a decent job with that in the Batman game too.
Okay, that's good.
Again,
I still want to
quick
play
time event
that.
stuff, but they make it feel like you're doing something.
That's good. I remember in Walking Dead, like their first big one, those sequences were way the worst. Like where you had to shoot zombies and stuff. Like those were really horribly designed.
Yes.
Beyond that, like there's not a ton of new stuff. I'm still plugging away at South Park as well. There's one I've been thinking about this of like, because I've talked about now South Park in a couple episodes. It's like, you know, I may have finished it by the next time we talk, and so I can talk about the ending and some kind of final thoughts. But like, what new can I talk about with South Park? And one of the things that I've really noticed, because now I'm definitely in the late game, I can tell from the trophies that I'm unlocking feel like late game trophies, but it's making me realize, and I complained about this a bit last episode, but early on there just aren't that many side missions. Like there are little tiny things that you can do, but they're mostly like not even fetch quests, but it's, I guess really it is kind of fetch quests of like Big Gay Al, his cats ran away. And so it's like, hey, find my 6 cats. And that's the side quest. And there's no meaningful reward even. A lot of them give you costumes, which is fun. I like playing dress up in that game. But the game isn't deep enough as an RPG, and there isn't enough external storytelling to make any of those really mean a lot. But there are more that are happening now in the later game where they're not so much side quests, but it's kind of branching storylines that all converge at the end. So like, I mean, the main story of the game, it starts like your quest is to find a missing cat named Scrambles so that you can get $100 reward. And so like you're with Cartman's Coon and Friends superhero group and you're trying to find the cat. Meanwhile, there's actual real life shit happening with like this crime syndicate is selling drugs, which is like the cheesing. If you saw the episode where people are sniffing cat piss and getting high off of it, it's that kind of thing. And then there's like other manipulations happening with the government and that sort of thing, where it's this larger story that, you know, since you're a kid, you're not really involved in. And a lot of those kind of come to a head now that I'm in the late game, because there's this fantastic quest line where you basically confront Butters as Professor Chaos, and Butters is one of my favorite South Park characters, and I love Professor Chaos as well. Yeah. And so it's a really cool kind of like a shop of horrors. I don't even know how to describe it, but you're at the same storage place where you fought Al Gore in the first game, and kind of Butters takes over it as Professor Chaos because he won $20,000, or not won, but like they this crime syndicate gave him $20,000 to try to distract the people of South Park. This game is fucking absurd, I'll tell you that much. And the way he's doing it, like it's all in universe for the superheroes. And one of the ways they gate progress of like you can't go to this area yet is red Legos. And so the red Legos signify lava, and so you can't cross the lava. Sure. And eventually you get a power that lets you blow the Legos away and get rid of the lava. But Professor Chaos's plan is to coat the entire town of South Park in red Legos to like bury everyone in lava. And so because he had $20,000, he hired a bunch of like dump trucks and a bunch of immigrant workers to go shovel red Legos into these trucks. So you have all these like Mexican dudes that are wearing tinfoil Professor Chaos hats, like shoveling Legos, and your characters are up at the top and they're looking at it, and it's this really dramatic, like sweeping shot, this music, and Cartman's like, my God, he's going to coat the town in lava. And it's just it's super fucking good. The game is fun. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
I need to play it so bad.
Definitely recommend it. But I did want to talk about a couple of the like fetch quest, side quests as well, because even though that from an actual gameplay perspective they're not particularly interesting, they inject the funny shtick of South Park to make them engaging. Okay. So there's one where you go to the police headquarters a lot because they're kind of embroiled in this gang or mob thing, but also you do some side quests for them, which all involve fighting and arresting innocent black men because the main detective cop is like this crazy racist. And so you go there and you interview their kind of their interview guy that goes and sits with all the criminals and like, you know, berates them. What's the word? Interrogator, thank you. So you go and talk to him, but he's like this bright, cheerful, fun guy, and he's also an actor, and so he wants you to take his headshots and spread them around South Park, and so that's one of the side quests. There's another one with Craig's dad, because Craig and Tweak, I think in South Park, quote-unquote canon, they're gay, and they're dating now. I didn't know about this, but I'm assuming from the game that Craig and Tweak are boyfriends. Which, like, hey, more power to him. Sure. But in the superhero world, Craig is Super Craig and Tweak is Wonder Tweak, and so they're kind of like fighting. They're both aligned with different superhero groups, and they're mad at each other, and they like broken up. And so one of the side quests is like you help get them into counseling and help work out the relationship and that kind of thing. But and of course it's with Professor Mackey, and so he's like, okay, we're gonna talk through our problems, okay. But when you talk to Craig's dad, apparently he has an anime fetish, and so he wants you to go and find these like chibi anime drawing posters and bring them back to him. Well, when you find the first one, you discover that those anime drawings are of Craig and Tweak, like doing gross of them like kissing, and there's one of like Tweak's laying in bed naked with the covers over, and Craig's like looking all mysterious. It's so fucked up, but I have a good laugh every time I find one of those because they're like, it's different kinds of anime styles, and you would, I'm sure, get more out of it than I do because I don't know anything about anime. But yeah, so like, I guess point being, there aren't that many deep side quests in this game because it is a fairly shallow RPG, but for me, like, the humor and the style of South Park makes doing those things worthwhile because the rewards certainly aren't worthwhile. But I think I'm getting close to the end, so maybe next episode I will have finished so I can kind of talk about the whole thing as a complete package, but still having a great time with that game. I guess finally on the games front, we should talk some more about Call of Duty World War II because we've played more of this. Yeah. So I beat the single player. I don't really have anything to add that we didn't already talk about. It's fairly by the numbers. The fact that it was World War II in a weird way feels fresh from all the like modern and futuristic shooters. But I mean, if you've played Call of Duty 3, it's the same game, just prettier.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you think about that last mission?
What's the last mission?
You go to look for Zus.
Yes, I mean, I don't know, man.
Terrible surface level.
Yes,
did not.
I did want to talk about another piece of it because I mean, not to spoil the actual story of it, but the internment camps are involved in the story of Call of Duty World War II. Won't go into like the details of it, but you visit a torture camp at one point, and yes, it is. They have nothing to say. Like, the makers of this game, they have, other than, like, Nazis are bad, torturing people is bad, there's no statement that they're trying to make or any topic they're trying to level. It's just very surface. There's another part, too, with a character that comes in, and I guess this is kind of like mild spoilers, but there's a new character that comes in to help you guys in the late game who's black. And one of your like buddy characters has a really negative reaction to a black guy helping in their platoon because, you know, it's early 40s. It's 25 years before the Civil Rights Act was even passed. And so there's like, he makes a racist comment. He doesn't use the N-word or anything, but like, he's a little bit racist towards this dude. And that's it. That scene happens, and that's really the only acknowledgement at all about that problem. At the end of the game, that racist dude comes up to the black guy and he's like, yeah, you're all right in my book. And they shake hands. And it's like, okay, we solved racism by killing Germans. It's like, it's so, they just have nothing to say. Yeah. It feels completely shoehorned in to try to, like, I don't even know. It's pretty bad, pretty poorly handled.
It was lame.
Yes. We played some more of the multiplayer together. I'm probably not going to play any more of the multiplayer, if I'm being honest. It's just not fun for me. I don't enjoy the raging and being mad about the connections, and it still seems pretty broken and buggy a lot of the times, and spawns are really bad. I don't know. I would much rather be doing most other things than playing Call of Duty multiplayer.
Sure.
And so if you and I were going to play something, I would want it to be zombies, because we played some zombies, and it was actually pretty cool.
It was interesting. 'Cause I haven't played a zombies mode since, like, World at War.
Same.
So, I don't know. I thought it was interesting, like, all the... It was cool to see, like, where zombies has gone in the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, I guess. Maybe 10 years. And that was at least interesting. But I don't know, like, it's just kind of directionless, and it's very trial and error. But I guess we got a decent way through it, I feel.
I mean, it seemed like we got pretty far in terms of, like, the objectives, and we were on, what, like, wave 23 or 24, so we were pretty far along in that capacity as well. And we just kind of, you're right, it was a lot of trial and error, because we only played through one round, and it was our first time, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we were very confused as to what we were supposed to do, which is on purpose, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it was more like, it was at least fun to run around and shoot the zombies and have it be co-op multiplayer versus competitive multiplayer.
Yeah,
that's more what I got out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I guess beyond some video games, I've been watching some stuff that I can run through real quick. So I finished The Leftovers and I finished Vice Principals. So I guess Vice Principals first, because it was just 2 seasons. I mean, it's just a good show. It's an easy comedy show to watch. I'm still confused why they tried to make it a little more dramatic at times and make me care about the characters, because I certainly didn't. But it ends in a really fucking crazy fashion. The final 2 episodes are really cool, because the whole thing, like, at the end of season 1, I mean, this is a spoiler for Vice Principals for a comedy show, but the main character, Danny McBride's character, gets shot. And so he survives, obviously, going into season 2. And so he's trying to figure out who shot him. And he's working with Walton Goggins' character to figure this out. There's a big thing that happens, and there's always sort of this, like, everybody's trying to tell Danny McBride that Walton Goggins is the one that shot you. He wants to be the principal. He's trying to get you out of the way. But, you know, Danny McBride's like, no, dude, I don't believe that. We're best buds, etc. And so, like, this bunch of dramatic stuff happens towards the end. And then the shooter's revealed. And obviously it's like this big kind of intense moment that actually is pretty effective from a dramatic perspective. And then the finale is like confronting that person and taking them down, and it's fucking insane. The show's like, even if you watch the first season and you're like, keep watching. It's only like 8 episodes in season 2. It's worth finishing because the finale is bonkers.
Is that on Hulu?
No. Well, I doubt it, because it's HBO. So I mean, we watched it on, or I watched HBO, it on HBO Now. Yeah,
or now.
I don't think you can get those anywhere else. But
okay.
Leftovers as well was HBO, and Kelly and I finished that. I wish I could say that ended with a bang, but it was definitely more of a whimper. I mean, if you've seen Lost, it's the same shit. It's like this really promising concept with interesting characters in the first season. They set up some cool stuff.
They don't know
and
how
then
to
it just
wrap it up.
Completely falls off the rails. Yeah, I mean, it's like, after the first 2 episodes of the 3rd season, we looked at each other and we were like, well, I don't want to watch this anymore, but we have to see it through. I mean, the best thing I'll say about it is that whereas Lost, you got the first 2 seasons, which were really good, and then like 7 terrible seasons. This one, it's at least 2 good seasons and only 1 bad season. Okay. So that's like the silver lining of the whole situation.
So far.
Well, no, it's done.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was done. The 3rd season was the final season. We had a good laugh because, you know, HBO Now, they have the descriptions of each episode, and for the finale, it was like paraphrased, but it was basically like, nothing happens, everything happens, and then it ends. That was the description for the series finale of The Leftovers, and I gotta say, it was pretty accurate.
So yeah.
Bummer. definitely a bummer. But hopefully you've been watching some stuff that is cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to watch The Sinner because I had seen a lot of really good stuff on that on social media. Because people were like, yeah, I binge watched Sinner, blah, blah, blah. And then like I was trying to find it on Netflix and I couldn't. And so I actually I got on a live chat with a Netflix help person and was like, hey, so I'm having trouble like finding The Sinners on Netflix, and they did confirm to me that it got pulled for licensing reasons, which is strange. I don't know, maybe they like maybe they needed to renegotiate a contract or something.
Is this a Netflix original show?
No.
Weird.
So USA? It's a USA show, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, so I wanted to watch that, and obviously I could not. So I'm kind of waiting for them to determine whether or not they're going to put it back up.
And what is that?
It's about this woman who they're at the beach one day. It's like a normal day, and then she just up and stabs this dude, and then it all becomes about like, okay, like, is she broken? Like, is her brain broken? Like, what's wrong with her? Or is there actually something going on? Like, maybe they actually knew each other and they're not like telling us what's going on. So it's like this whole big thing about this one event and kind of the things that lead up to it. So it seemed interesting, and I was like in the mindset to watch it right after having seen Mindhunter, but yeah, currently cannot watch it. Kara and I watched the first 2 episodes of Punisher, and then she fell asleep, so I couldn't keep watching it. Isn't that always the way, though? It's good so far. I like it so far. I think it's a strong.
How many episodes is
start.
it?
I don't know. I did not look.
Okay. Yeah, I that's at the top of my list. I don't watch that much TV by myself anymore, and because Kelly's not super interested in the Marvel stuff, so I definitely need to find time for it.
Yeah, and like even just in the first episode alone, like they do a really good job of making you hate this group of characters, and then he just messes them up, and you're like the first time anyone gives Frank like a sideways glance, I'm sitting there on the couch just like, fuck him up. And, and the show does not disappoint.
That's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's really fun. I've been reading some stuff, so I finally finished In Cold Blood by Joe Abercrombie. That's one of those offshoot novels of a trilogy he had already released that I'd read. And I got the new Stormlight Archives book by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd book in that series. It is 1,230 pages, and I could not be more excited.
Yeah!
So I just started that. Like I did the prologue and a couple chapters before the show last night. I'm so ready to dive back into it. And another cool thing about Brandon Sanderson's books is that they all take place in the same universe. He calls it the Cosmere.
Right.
And so there are, every once in a while, you'll have allusions, like very vague too. Like you have to be hardcore to pick up on them, but very vague allusions to characters from other books, or like something is a clear influence of something that had happened in another book. Kind of like the universe, kind of like this very long distance butterfly effect, which is kind of neat. So I've been just started that, super excited, and then obviously I was just kind of mostly busy with the play and trying to make that happen.
Sure. I actually, because I've been trying to think of like Christmas gift ideas, because we're having our Christmas in a week at Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah.
And so I've been trying to think of like, what the hell do I want? And there's some video games I want, but that's just not super exciting. And I would buy them for myself anyway. And I'm just terrible at finding gifts, like what I want as gifts. I always think of really good ideas after Christmas. But I was like, you know what? I never read anymore. I want some fucking books. And so I actually took a lot of inspiration from stuff that you've read. So Prince of Thorns trilogy was like the big one that I wanted, just because it's only 3 books, and so it's not a huge investment. But I was doing a lot of research on Brandon Sanderson stuff as well, and the Cosmere and how all that works, and where I should start. So
if you want to dive in,
I have some Sanderson books.
Dive in, buddy. Head first.
So we'll see. Hopefully I get something. I would rather get like the Prince of Thieves, or what? Not Prince of Thieves.
Thorns. Yeah.
Yes, I said it right the first time, and then I forgot. Prince of Thorns, just because it's only 3 books, and it would be much easier for me to dive into the expanded fantasy books. Yeah.
But dude, you gotta read these Brandon Sanderson books so we can talk about them.
This podcast is gonna get so much nerdier than it already is if we start talking about fantasy books. But I guess before we move into news, so Kelly and I, we actually did start watching Mindhunter just last night. I was quite annoyed at her. I have to go on a little mini rant. I love my wife to death, but I have to go on a little rant. So we were talking about, like, because we just finished The Leftovers, and we were like, thank God that shit's over with. Let's move on to something exciting.
Sure.
And I knew she really wanted to watch Mindhunter because she loves the murder mystery stuff, and she listens to all those murder podcasts and thinks that I'm going to snap and strangle her one night because she's, like, going crazy thinking about murderers. But I was like, yeah, I'll watch Mindhunter, but there's a bunch of other things that I would also like to watch. And so she's like, okay, go through HBO, go through Hulu, go through Netflix, everything else, and see what is there that you want to watch. So I made all my extensive lists, because I love making lists of like 80 different shows. And I was fully prepared to like, okay, this is what this one is, this is what this one is. Because like we watched the first season of The Path, which was on Hulu, starring Aaron Paul. It was basically like the concept. It's like a cult. He's in this cult and he's trying to get out, and like he's trying to convince his wife to get out. It was a really cool concept. The first season wasn't amazing, but the second season's out, and so we're like, oh, we should watch that. I also really want to watch Glow, the Netflix original that's about like the female wrestlers starring Alison Brie. I really want to watch that. So I make this huge extensive list. I'm prepping to go through and tell her what each show is and who's in it so she can kind of figure it out. And right as I'm about to be like, okay, so this show, she goes, honestly, can we just watch Mindhunter? And I was like, are you fucking serious? I spent the last half hour looking up all of these shows, and you just want to watch Mindhunter. She's like, no, okay, go ahead. Tell me about the shows. And I was like, dude, no. Because now I don't want to spend another half hour explaining them to you, when at the end you're just going to be like, no, I just would rather watch Mindhunter. So we watched Mindhunter. I'm enjoying it. I think the main dude is terrible. The main actor.
I could take him or leave him.
So I was surprised because I was doing a little research afterward, because I was like, where the fuck did this dude come from? He's a famous Broadway.
Right?
Yeah, he's a former Tony nominee for Spring Awakening, one of the greatest musicals of all time. He was in Frozen, like he played Kristoff in Frozen. Like he's a very successful Broadway, singer actor, but clearly something did not transition to acting on film, because he is boring as shit. He's just very small. Like, all of his choices and his moments are small. And so he just gets dominated by every other character that he's in, which, considering the concept of the show in that he's investigating, like, it's basically the creation of serial killers and, like, how we think about serial killers. Because, in the 70s, that didn't exist. Nobody thought of them in that way.
Right.
And so, from that perspective, as he's interviewing these people, I get that. Because they're the ones that are dominating the scene and like being super intense and talking about the mentality of what it's like to murder another human being, several human beings. And so from that perspective, I understand, but he just isn't interesting as a character. And so I don't know if it's just the actor, if it's the writing, if that was done on purpose, but whatever it is, it doesn't work. And I'm enjoying the show in spite of him. And that bums me out.
Sure. Yeah, I would say he's probably my least favorite part about the show. But it is like, I warmed up to him after a few episodes. And I got used to what he was doing. Or maybe he got better, I don't know. But yeah, I think like that show has so many strong people in it that even if you're not into one of them, it's not going to ruin your day.
Yeah, and we're 3 episodes in, and I mean, the main murderer that they've been talking to, whatever Kemper's his last name, that dude is brilliant and fascinating.
So good. And he
really
looks just like the actual Ed Kemper.
Right.
Like, holy crap.
You call him a sidekick, but he isn't. He's more the mentor character, like the older detective cop. He's also really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the main guy. I don't know, man. It bums me out. Like, I don't know. But ironically, here's another great segue for you. That dude that plays the older cop is in the first scene of Justice League, which I just saw this morning.
Oh,
yes. Weird. Yeah, it's a very small role, but I was like in the first minute of the movie, I was like, wait, is that dude? We were just watching this last night. So I saw Justice League this morning. My best brief review of it is better than Batman versus Superman.
That doesn't mean much.
Yeah, but that's kind of all I've got. It's like, okay, and honestly, that does make it sound maybe worse than what it really is, because the movie isn't terrible. Like, Batman vs. Superman is a terrible movie.
Yep.
Suicide Squad was a terrible movie. This is not a terrible movie, but it's not good. Its best aspects are average at best, and it has a lot of things about it that are quite bad. So the way it's kind of structured is very like Suicide Squad or like the beginning of Rogue One, where it spends way too much time introducing you to these characters that have no connection to one another. And it's just a really bad storytelling perspective to dump all this information about these characters on you when there's no there's no story yet. Right. It's just like, here are these characters and where they currently are. You have no idea what is building to, why you need to care about these people, other than the fact that they're DC superheroes. And so that was just really sloppy. Just really sloppy off the bat. I'll also say that the new characters that they add, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash, I hate all of them. I hate all three of those characters for different reasons. So, I mean, it's if you look at the trailers, those characters are what you would, like, worst case scenario, what you would think from the trailers. So Cyborg basically isn't a character at all. He's a plot device. He has zero personality. He has all this confliction about the technological side of him versus the human side. Actually, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have conflict. He's supposed to, but he doesn't because he has no character development. Aquaman is annoying as shit. He's a complete bro, and it's terrible and painful to watch. Flash is the kind of comic relief, but Ezra Miller is fucking atrocious with his comic timing and how he delivers his lines. Like, I watched, watching the movie, there are 15 bits, I'll say, of like comedic relief, and he just executes them really poorly. The timing is bad. The way he delivers his lines are bad. He just isn't funny, and like, he's supposed to be awkward and weird and like antisocial, and I just don't buy any of it. Like, it's like watching the dude that played Lex Luthor in BVS. What's Jesse Eisenberg? It's like he's playing at something. He doesn't seem like a real person at all. He's just like throwing bits and jokes at the wall and hopes that something will stick, and it doesn't. It's a bad movie. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a bad movie. It's like, the action is better than it was in BVS because there's more of it. It's still just CGI bullshit most of the time. It's not funny. There's one really funny moment that happens between, I guess this is technically a spoiler, but it isn't. It's between Flash and Superman, because Superman comes back to life, like everyone fucking knew he was going to. And the way that it's done is completely contrived and ridiculous and makes no sense. The whole story is like, because Steppenwolf is the villain of this, and he is a servant of Darkseid who will be the villain in the next Justice League, I'm assuming. And so he's tracking down the 3 mother boxes, which are from Darkseid's world, and when combined, they unleash the superpower to like destroy the planet. So Steppenwolf's trying to get the 3 boxes. One of them is with the Amazons, one of them's with the Atlantans, and one of them's with the humans. And Cyborg was created with the power of the mother box that the humans were using, so he can like tap into the mother box technology, but it's never explained how. He doesn't even fucking understand how. It's all outside of his control, and he just does science to make things happen. He's like, I will hack into the Batmobile and drive it because I magically know how to do that. It is just like, there's no effort to explain anything that's happening. Shit just happens. Like, the things in the movie just happen. It goes from step A to B to C. There's no through line, no connection, no explanation. And so you're just kind of watching it like, what am I supposed to care about? Why does this matter? What does this have to do with this other thing? The movie's a complete fucking mess. Surprise, surprise, a Zack Snyder movie is all style and zero substance. Fuck Zack Snyder. I would rather watch a Michael Bay movie than I would rather watch a Zack Snyder movie. So, one thing... So, one thing that I will say, which, for people listening, obviously, I don't recommend seeing Justice League. But if you're listening like, oh, Shay's a really critical person. He maybe cares about stuff that I don't care so much about. Like, yeah, it's a stupid popcorn movie, but maybe I want that. So let me give you some perspective. So I'm sitting in my seat, and I went by myself because Kelly didn't even want to go to see it with me. So I'm there by myself. Next to me sits an older man and woman. They're probably late 40s. Before I go into this, I am making no judgment about these human beings in particular, purely what they represent to America as a society. So trailers start playing. They show a trailer for the new Jumanji movie, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black, and whatever.
Yeah, that's a
Jillian,
movie.
Whatever. So that movie looks fucking terrible.
Yeah.
In every single way. They are losing their minds laughing at this trailer. Like, slapping their legs, laughing, hooting at the end. And after the trailer, she leans over and she's like, we're seeing that. Then they show a trailer for Rampage, another Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie coming out that we will talk about in a little bit in more detail. But it's a monster movie with big explosions from the director that brought you San Andreas. So you know you're going to get some quality there. They are losing their shit over that movie. And as Justice League ended, and I'm sighing with my head in my hands, they're going on and on about how much they loved it. So, if you think Jumanji looks good, you might enjoy Justice League. That's the moral of the story.
Oh, man.
So
I feel like the whole last 10 minutes was really on brand for you.
You're not wrong. But, like, what am I going to do? It's fucking bad. I'm not going to blow smoke and pretend it's good when it isn't.
Give me three things that were passable about the movie.
So, okay, yes. So there's one funny moment that I'm referencing. I don't want to spoil it because it is a fun moment.
Funny moment.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna kind of cheat because it's two moments specifically. One of it's more of an idea than it is a moment. But this specific moment, if you read Flash and Superman, like if you know the relationship between Flash and Superman in the comics, this will be more enjoyable for you. And so there are two moments about that. One of which is just a funny joke moment, and the other one is one of the stingers, which is fun. Again, Ezra Miller, I don't enjoy the way that he acts, and I don't think he is funny or charming or cute in any interesting way. But the scene is fun. So there's two. Let me think about a third one, because nothing is coming to mind. I may have. I mean, let's see if I can think of one before the end of the podcast, because I don't want to waste time. But to be honest with you, I can't think of another moment that I was like, yeah, I can't think of one.
Like, were there any, like, how was the fighting? Was the fighting shot pretty well, at least? Because, like, that's something that can really go wrong in these kind of, like, big group action movies is, like, if they're not shot well, you don't get a sense of how everything is happening and how it all pieces together in the fights.
Okay, so there is one good one. There is one good one. So the main fighting with our superheroes, I don't think is good. There's one big fight scene with them where they've just come together as a team for the first time, and it is appropriately disparate. Like, they don't really work together, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the fighting, the choreography isn't particularly spectacular. And then there's the end fight scene where they kind of team up a little bit more. A lot of that you saw in the trailers with, like, Aquaman flying in the air, killing the parademons.
Yeah.
You know, Batman driving the Batmobile and blowing shit up. All of that felt fairly low stakes because it's all just CG. But there was one fighting moment where Steppenwolf is searching for the mother boxes, and so he goes to try to get the mother box from the Amazons. And so there's a fight scene with him and the Amazons, and Wonder Woman's not there, but it's the other Amazons, like Wonder Woman's mom and all the other women. and that scene was cool.
Okay.
Because it's more in a more confined space, and so it's the women fighting against the parademons and trying to fight against Steppenwolf, and he's completely tearing them to shit. And that was like appropriately intense. And there's a big like chase scene that happens. I don't want to like go into too much detail about it because that scene was cool. I'll say that much.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So there's your third.
Right, there's the 3.
There's your third.
Okay.
Yikes. I could go on and on about other smaller details that piss me off about this movie, but I'll save that for my review.
Okay.
I'll save that for my review.
Shea Hates Everything.com.
So, yeah, it'll either become it will already be posted or will be posted the day everybody is listening to this on Monday. So keep your eyes out. It probably won't get a great score. So moving into news, I guess let's talk about the trailers first because we kind of talked about Rampage already. So.
Yeah.
Rampage is an old video game series. I think we've realized that it was on PS2. I think it was also on PS1. I don't really remember. Maybe Dreamcast era. But basically, like, you played as these different monsters. It was a side-scroller. They were up on these buildings, and you're just destroying shit, going on a rampage. And so, for whatever the fuck reason, I guess because society is collapsing, they're making a movie out of that. So, it's basically King Kong. Like, there's an ape who's an albino gorilla that The Rock's best buds with, and he gets infected by something, and it makes him giant. And there's also a wolf that gets giant, I guess a crocodile that's giant, and they destroy shit. And that's the movie Rampage. It looks bad. Mm-hmm. What else? What other trailers did we see?
Incredibles 2.
Yeah, so this was more of a teaser, right?
Yeah.
It was like just a 50-second kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to focus on the baby and how it's developing lots of different kinds of powers. I guess just going from the trailer, apparently this picks up right after the first one because it's still like a baby.
Yeah, that was like the weird thing for me was watching this new Incredibles content like that takes place immediately after the first one, which how long has it been since the first Incredibles came out?
A long time. It was like early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, like 12 years now, something like 11, 12 years, something crazy. So it was like weird to see those characters be the same, especially the baby, because it's like it's been 12 years. Shouldn't the baby be like in junior high or something? Yeah. So that was just there was a little disconnect there, but yeah, I mean it's a cute little teaser.
And I mean, I really like The Incredibles. I think it's one of the more underrated Pixar movies. I will say that if you take the average of Pixar movies, the quality has kind of gone down in recent years. Like, I really liked... Zootopia wasn't Pixar, was it? So I guess I can't count that. I think that was just Disney. I don't remember for sure. But because like Moana, that wasn't Pixar either. That was just Disney. But a lot of their recent ones, like I really didn't like Finding Dory. Cars 3 I haven't seen, but I heard it didn't really set the world on fire. So I don't know. Like Good Dinosaur wasn't that good. So a lot of their movies, like they're not hitting that same pinnacle. No,
man.
No. Like it's not bad. I wouldn't say that any Pixar movie is actively bad, except maybe Brave. Brave was pretty bad. Okay. But like, I just mean like hitting that pinnacle of quality of, WALL-E and Up and even way back, Toy Story. Nothing recently has hit that. So I'm a little worried about Incredibles 2, but I'm certainly going to watch it. Like I'm still excited to see it.
Yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of the first one.
Yeah, for sure. And then we also got a new trailer for Deadpool 2, which like it's not really a trailer. It's more like a sketch. It's like a bit that was funny, but maybe went on a little too long. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that trailer. It felt kind of pointless.
Well, it was like they had this funny idea that they then like put split seconds of footage from the movie in at periodic intervals. I don't know, like, and the sketch none of that kind of funny, I guess.
Yeah, it was funny. Again, I feel like it maybe went on a bit too long, but like for anybody that hasn't seen it, you should see it if you're interested. But it's basically Deadpool as Bob Ross.
Yeah,
like doing paintings and making funny jokes about the paintings and colors and that kind of stuff. So like all of that was definitely enjoyable, but it's certainly not a trailer for the movie.
Sure.
So I don't know. Obviously, I'm still super excited for Deadpool 2. Don't get me wrong, but
it should be good.
It didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else have we got here? So sticking in the world of film, I guess. So there have been rumors recently about Disney potentially buying parts of 21st Century Fox, which I thought was like really fascinating. And obviously, as a comic book fan, this would entail them acquiring the X-Men franchise, which would be super cool.
Does Fox have Spider-Man too, or is that
Sony has Spider-Man?
Sony has Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. So, and obviously, Marvel has already licensed the rights to Spider-Man. They co-produced Spider-Man Homecoming. Obviously, Spider-Man was in Civil War. So they've already reached an agreement. There's been no such agreement between Disney and Fox for the X-Men. And they're, Fox is doing their own shit with the X-Men franchise. And I use the word shit literally. So this, like, as a comic book fan, this would certainly be cool to bring X-Men back into the fold. That's not why they're doing this as Disney. It's a cool part of it. But primarily what they're looking to do is just bring on all of the TV production and kind of film assets they have. Due to kind of television law, I'm using law very loosely here, but Disney would not be allowed to purchase and run Fox Network because they currently run ABC and they can't run two competing networks like that. Okay. So this sale would involve cable networks like FX, Nat Geo, and Fox would really focus on news and sports because obviously they're super big in football season, etc. And Fox News is a big news outlet. It's certainly not a done deal. There have just been talks, and apparently there hasn't been a ton of movement on it lately. But I just thought that this would be a really interesting thing, and Disney becoming an even bigger giant in film and television than they already are. But crazy. It also makes sense from Fox's perspective because their stuff hasn't been setting the world on fire for quite a while now. Much like Sony Pictures, like Sony has not been doing well with their movies, which is part of why they wanted to partner with Marvel on the Spider-Man to kind of bring some of that cachet back. So curious to see how that development continues and really if there's any development. This sort of thing, I think these kinds of talks happen more often than we hear about, but the deals don't usually happen, which is why we don't hear about them. So I would tend to believe that that's the direction this will go and that nothing will actually happen. But purely from a fanboy perspective, it would be awesome to have X-Men and Fantastic Four back under the Marvel umbrella.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be really nice. That way they wouldn't have to say shit like metahuman and all this other weird crap.
Inhuman. So Amazon has been in the news as well for two separate pieces. So first, which is more of the experimental piece, they want to start experimenting with a freemium version of their streaming platform, their Amazon Prime streaming, which would be supported by ads. This is interesting to me because Hulu already does this. Like, you pay for Hulu, but they have ads. And you can pay more to remove the ads, which I don't like. Like, I'm not a fan of that business model. It seems kind of shitty.
Yep.
But Amazon's is different, obviously, because you only get access to this with Amazon Prime. So this would be a way of letting people that aren't Amazon Prime subscribers get access to Amazon's streaming content, their movies, their original shows, that kind of thing, and have it supported, by ads so that you're not paying up front. This would also open the door for an additional means of revenue other than it only being Amazon Prime. Because I could see them potentially in the future having a freemium version with ads, a paid version without ads, and then if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get some special additional thing. So kind of experimenting with tiers of subscriptions, which I think is interesting for them to do. I guess this freemium version to start will primarily be kids programming and like lifestyle shows, so like cooking, travel, homemaking, that kind of thing, which also makes sense because those are like the casual types of shows that people might get invested in a platform but not be willing to pay for, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good door opener kind of thing. Like, hey, if they have HGTV that you can watch for free with ads, like, yeah, sure. I'm sure my wife would love to do that. Additionally, they are currently in the works for a Lord of the Rings TV show, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I feel like the Lord of the Rings ship has sailed, but I guess in Amazon's mind, and they've come out and said this is them going after the Game of Thrones.
Right.
So like they don't have their own show, and Netflix has several of its own. Like it tried to do Marco Polo. It has a new show.
Marco Polo was
it's
good.
just called. I know you liked it. I watched it. I did not enjoy it. But they have a new one called The Kingdom, I think, that's had its first season. So they're trying to tap into that kind of like high fantasy drama, kind of sexy whatever attitude that Game of Thrones has certainly exploded about.
Yeah.
And so this would be a prequel. Part of the development plan includes spin-off shows, which doesn't mean that they would happen, but interesting to note that like they want this to be a big thing,
right?
Which makes sense because apparently they also played a shit ton of money to acquire the rights for Lord of the Rings too.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like what do you
like
feel? Because
$250 million, like $250 million.
Yeah, I think I saw it was like
200
$200 million, but I don't know if that was confirmed or not. I think that was like the estimated worth. I don't know that they came out and said specifically, but it was a lot of money one way or the other. Amazon has money to burn, obviously, but still a lot to invest. So I don't know, like, how do you feel about this? Like, I know you're with me where like the Hobbit trilogy was not so great, and I was kind of ready to put Lord of the Rings to bed. Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm open to it. Like, yeah, I'm not like, oh, this is the greatest news I've heard in a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like this is. I know how these things can go. Yeah. And certain properties, if not handled correctly, don't always lend themselves to different formats. So I guess we'll see. Like they could have an amazing show, or it could be a pile of shit, like fan servicey, surface level crap. Without having any details on it, I would never commit to saying, "Oh yeah, I'm totally gonna watch it."
Right. And I'll say, I mean, I'm right there with you. We don't know enough to know one way or the other. I will say that going from what's been said about this and the reason they're doing it, my fear is that they will try to shoehorn a lot of that HBO style into this to compete with, like, because obviously Game of Thrones has the nudity and the ultra violence and political intrigue and all that kind of thing. It's kind of what makes that show popular.
Sure.
That stuff isn't really Lord of the Rings. Like, Lord of the Rings is a very somewhat straightforward good versus evil story. So I don't know. Like, that would be my big concern.
It's not necessarily Game of Thrones is so political, and it's about the people. Lord of the Rings is about the locations, the adventure, the journey, and to a lesser degree the people still, like the internal conflicts and stuff, but very much about the action and adventure part of it. So like if that spirit carries over into the show and it's different enough from something like a Game of Thrones, I think that could be a good thing. But yeah, I would wonder how much, I don't know, I guess like how much latitude they're gonna have, because like there's no nudity in Lord of the Rings, like that does not exist. So like, are they gonna be allowed to even do that, really?
Yeah, like that's my thing.
What does that do to the overall Lord of the Rings brand to introduce that type of content into it? Yeah, that's interesting.
For me, and I feel like this is very indicative of the way producers think, which I don't think is from a creative perspective, but this feels, and not just feels, but going from what they have said about it, this is them going after that Game of Thrones money.
Yeah.
This isn't them saying, let's make the best Lord of the Rings show we can. It is, there's some white space, to use a business perspective, or I guess green space that we're missing out on.
Sure.
We need to get some of that Game of Thrones money. And I don't think that leads to the best creative project possible.
No, it does not.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, if it's cool, I would absolutely love to watch a Lord of the Rings show. Yeah. But I certainly don't want it to exist at the expense of what makes Lord of the Rings Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So,
same.
More to come. This is not something that would air until like 2020 at the earliest anyway. Right. So I'm sure we got quite a while. So, moving to the world of video games, how about you tell me about CG Project Red? because there's been some news about them.
Yeah, so people are all up in arms about the microtransaction things, which we'll talk about all that crap later.
Oh boy, yes we will.
But some person tweeted at like CD Projekt Red, like, hey, they're considering games as a service for Cyberpunk 2077, which is their next game, as part of their drive to make it more commercially significant. Was their tweet, and then it links to some video of presumably some idiot talking about shit he doesn't know shit about. So CD Projekt Red Twitter like responded to them like, worry not, when thinking of CG Project or Cyberpunk 2077, think nothing less than The Witcher 3. Huge single player, open world, story driven RPG. No hidden catch, you get what you pay for. No bullshit, just honest gaming like with Wild Hunt. We leave greed to others. Is how they ended their tweet, which I think is kind of funny.
Throwing some shade.
Yeah, some pretty serious shade. But yeah, I don't know. I like that's like a weird. Microtransactions. I don't like how reductive that statement was about leaving the greed to others, because there are some legitimate benefits to having microtransactions in your title,
right?
In terms of long-term development and like game as a service, keep your user base, keeping your user base on one product for an extended period of time, like community engagement, that kind of stuff. So I'm not all, but I understand. I appreciate their sentiment in saying that no, like we're just looking to do a nice, like a deep open world single player RPG experience. Like that's all we're looking to make. No bullshit. They didn't need to throw that shade there at the end.
So I'll say for me, and I agree with you on microtransactions, because there are cases where they're non-intrusive and certainly do help future development. For me, it's all about implementation.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, since we're already diving into this, we might as well start talking about Battlefront 2, because that's like the big news that's been happening in a couple weeks. Okay. And I'm nervous and excited to talk to you about it, because we're coming at it from a bit of different perspectives. But because it's my fucking podcast, Battlefront 2 is the hate of the week. So let's talk about the hate of the week.
Hate of the week.
So let's look back a little bit at because this is like, regardless of how you feel about it, this has been a shit show, like from both sides. And we talked about this a little bit last week when the beta was happening and how people were reacting to the progression system and the microtransactions in the Battlefront 2 beta. So let me kind of set the stage, and then I'll go to you, Kyle, and we can kind of talk about it a little bit better. But to give people listening some perspective. So in the beta, the feedback that they got, very aggressive feedback, was that it took way too long to unlock stuff. And if you were playing the game, and it felt like the progression system was designed to encourage people to spend real money to unlock things. And on top of that, that real money that they were spending was to unlock random loot crates. So it's not even like, I want this gun attachment, I want to spend 50 cents on it. It's, I need to spend $4 to unlock a loot crate that I have a 2% chance of getting that gun attachment from. I might get an attachment for a gun I don't use. I might get a different gun. I might get a fucking emote for a character I don't play. Like, you have no idea you have no means of knowing what you're going to get in there. And so both of those things combined was like, this is terrible. So EA came back and said, all right, we're going to rethink how we have the microtransactions structured. So people have been complaining that it takes too long, or the loot crates cost too much in-game currency. So we're going to lower the currency that you need to spend to unlock the loot crates. That's our fix. And so people were like, okay, they're listening, like that's positive. And then people started doing some digging, and as part of that update, they not only lowered the amount that you had to spend to get a loot crate, they also lowered the amount that you got in rewards. So yes, the loot crates cost less, but you're also earning less. So that progression isn't really changing. And so people are like, okay, double fuck you, EA. Fuck you, number one, for not really fixing the problem. And fuck you, number two, for saying that you fixed it and manipulating the situation so that you could get the headlines of like EA listens to fans from Backlash, changes system, when you actually didn't. So then EA said, okay, fucking hit the stop button. Microtransactions are canceled for now. And so that was like even more of a shit show because they're getting all this, what would be considered positive press of, the microtransactions were the biggest reason people didn't want to buy the game. The microtransactions don't exist anymore, but they're going to in the future. And they haven't said clearly how they're going to re-implement, what kind of system it's going to look like, if they're going to change the price, if they're going to change how many things you earn. They just said like, this is on hold, quote unquote, indefinitely, but they have confirmed that they are bringing this back. They may change their mind and decide, we're not going to bring it back at all, but where we are right now, they plan on bringing it back, which is so fucking shady for a company to do this twice now, because here's like from this is why they did this. This isn't an opinion. This is fucking why they did this, so that they could get positive press, so that the story would change from gamers are complaining about microtransactions to publisher removes microtransactions from listening to gamers. So now all the people complaining about microtransactions will say, okay, they listen to us, they're changing stuff, I'll go ahead and go buy it. I'll go ahead and go buy the game so that their sales numbers don't look bad up front. And then when they reintroduce microtransactions, they'll already have gotten those kids invested. So then they'll be like, oh, well, I wasn't going to buy it because of microtransactions, but now I've put 20 hours. There's just one attachment I want. Oh, fine. I'll pay $10 to try to get that attachment. It's like double, triple, quadruple amounts of shady. So that's where I'm coming from on this specific example. So in the Giant Bomb group, there have been lots of discussion about this in particular. And Kyle, you tend to come down on the side of like, not defending this necessarily, but like it doesn't seem to bother you. So can I ask like your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think like I had so much going on like with the play and my personal life and stuff. I didn't have it in me to get really worked up over it.
Sure.
Yes, it's shitty. Like I'm not going to defend what they did. But, like, at the end of the day, making games is hard, to coin a Vinny Caravella phrase.
Oh, boy.
And also, like, I'm not willing to just say, like, fuck EA or fuck DICE or whoever, because this is probably an issue of someone at the top making a business decision. And so, like, The thing that annoys me is like when you boycott games and you do stuff like that, like you're affecting everybody that worked on that game and you're affecting like their livelihood. And so like I don't know. I guess I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I guess just like honestly I'm not sure why this doesn't. I feel like maybe it should probably bother me a lot because they were being dishonest. And they were being shitty. I don't know why it just doesn't bother me. Like, I still want to buy the game and play it and enjoy it. And, like, it's... I guess because in my mind I've already committed to buying it because I do want to play it and experience it. Mm-hmm. Because, like, it's Star Wars, it's really pretty. There's a campaign that, people are down on, but that could just be a side effect of the fact that everyone's complaining about the game in general. So, like, I don't trust what anyone has to say about the game because of all the negative press. So, like, okay. I want to see it for myself. I've already committed to doing that. So it's like, why get worked up over this stuff,
Yeah, and I have several reactions to that. So, first, addressing the point about this is someone up at EA making this decision. Totally agree with that. I am in no way implicating developers at DICE for wanting to implement microtransactions in their game.
Right.
Zero belief that that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
But the point about, like, this is affecting... if someone doesn't buy this game, this potentially affects jobs at DICE. Like, yes, it does. but it's not my responsibility to pay their bills. Like, I'm not going, like, I see people make this argument all the time of, like, an indie game that comes out and gets really bad reviews, and they're like, well, you should buy it anyway to support indie developers. Fucking no! It's not my job to make someone else have a job. If they're bad at it, they don't deserve to do it. And I'm not saying that the developers at DICE are bad, but my thing is, like, it's not my responsibility to give them my $60 so that they can make Battlefront 3 with the same shit. It's not like this game's going to make zero money. But if it sells 7 million copies compared to 12 million copies, they're still going to make a Battlefront 3. But maybe, just maybe, they will realize that this issue is the thing that cost them those 5 million sales. And maybe, just maybe, not out of the goodness of their hearts, because the people at EA clearly have no heart, but from a business perspective, they will learn that we can't do this because people won't buy our game. That's already what has happened with the microtransactions. When they implemented this, they knew that this is not good for gamers. There is zero scenario where you could say that this progression system is good for the end user, because it's not just microtransactions. Let me break down to you how the progression system works in Battlefront 2. So you level up your character, but that doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of like leveling up your character in Call of Duty. You gain access to additional weapons, but you're not, like, getting more powerful by leveling up. Your character gets more powerful through the acquisition of star cards, which are unlocked through the loot boxes, which are randomized. So, I could unlock 100 loot boxes and not get a single thing that improves my character the way I want to improve them. Someone else could unlock one loot box that gets them the best improvement for their character. That is a bad system. Making your progression about randomization is a bad system. Even if nobody is spending money on this. The fact that people are and can spend money on this only makes it that much fucking worse. Because then you have me, who didn't spend a dime, and I unlocked 100 boxes, didn't get the thing I want. You have guy B, who didn't spend a dime, unlocked one box, got the thing that he wanted. Then you have guy C, who spends 20 bucks, unlocks 600 loot boxes, and gets all the shit that he wants. So not only is it random if I'm going to get what I want or not, but somebody that is going to spend money gets an advantage over me. Thus the term pay to win. Someone that pays more than me has a leg up. That's fucked. This isn't a free-to-play game. I'm spending $60 on this game. Why would you gate additional stuff behind a paywall? Because it's not like it's DLC. It's not like it's additional maps, additional characters. It is stuff intrinsic to the experience of being able to keep up with people. IGN put up a video where they spent $100 on loot boxes, and they got the best fucking gear that you can get. There's a top tier Y-Wing ship, like a gold card that you can get. That's like, if you get that, you fucking destroy everything. It's clearly balanced to make people want to spend money, because that's the only way you're going to get the best stuff. Because in the IGN review, they walked through the actual progression of unlocking loot boxes. So a traditional match takes 5 to 15 minutes. In a traditional match, you will earn 1 to 400 credits. The lowest tier loot box, where you're getting the most common gear. You're not getting the awesome gear, but just the common gear costs 4,000 credits. I did the math. At playing a match at the fastest rate, playing at the best rate to earn the most amount of credits, you're unlocking one lowest tier loot box an hour. Or you can just spend money and get the lowest tier loot box. Like, I didn't even look at what the higher tier loot boxes were, but that's potentially like several hours of top tier playing in order to afford one box. Or you can just drop $3.99. Like, that's the system that you're going to put in your game for players to progress? Fuck that. Even if they never bring back the ability to buy it with real money, how is that fun? The only way that you can level up your character is 1, by grinding for hours, and 2, getting lucky. If you're going to make me grind, at least let me spend those credits to unlock the shit I want. But they're not doing that. It's the worst of both worlds. And then you add on top of that giving players that spend money an advantage. Like, this is fucked from so many different directions. So for me, I want to play the single player. But I'm not going to spend $60 to play the single player. I might wait a couple of weeks and like get it at Redbox because there are a whole other litany of issues with this game beyond the microtransactions that you're right, nobody's talking about this game other than the microtransactions. But believe you me, I have a fucking complaint list about the other shit too. The single player mode is like 4 to 5 hours long, the campaign. That's shorter than a Call of Duty campaign. How is that acceptable? And so, if that's all I wanted to do, I wanted to avoid the multiplayer, you're expecting me to pay $60 for a 4 to 5 hour experience? Come on. Beyond that, apparently the story is a complete mess, and it's more about teaching you different character classes for the multiplayer. It ends on a cliffhanger where they basically say the ending to this will be in DLC. And it doesn't even answer questions like the main character that they've been highlighting, played by the chick from the League, as the main character. You don't even play as her part of the time. You play as Leia in a level, you play as Lando in a level. So it's more like a Star Wars greatest hits than it's trying to do any actual cohesive story. So that's not even super interesting. The game looks amazing. It's gorgeous. I fucking love Star Wars to death. I still want to play it, but there's no way I'm spending money on this with the way that it is right now. That's where I'm coming from.
All of that is valid. I'm not going to argue any of those points, and people have the right to be upset and up in arms about it. It's just it has been overwhelming, and I'm sick of being inundated with it everywhere I go online. Especially because I already know that I want to get it and play it. So I don't know. And I'm also not articulating myself properly because I don't know why. I don't really know why it doesn't bother me as much as it probably should. But I don't know. I've tried to argue and discuss, and no one's actually interested in having a real discussion.
I am.
Well, I know
now.
you are. But part of the problem is I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm not sitting here I'm not trying to make you or anyone that is going to play the game or buy the game feel bad. This is purely from me and the way that I'm looking at this. And yeah, dude, maybe me not buying the game, maybe I'm one of 100 people that decide not to buy the game and it means nothing. But for me, the way that I look at this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I've agreed with a lot of people about a lot of things on the way that the industry is moving, especially with microtransactions and back when EA was doing those online passes that you had to buy to try to cut out used game sales. I didn't take a stand during all of that because it's it's not going to do anything. It's the whole method of my vote doesn't matter. It's that attitude that people have. And so I'm just going to come along for the ride because my opinion doesn't matter. It's not going to make a difference. And yeah, it might not. Me not buying this game might mean nothing. And all that is lost is me getting to experience a fun Star Wars single-player mode. But I'm willing to sacrifice that for the opportunity that maybe something will happen. If enough people are like me and put their foot down, maybe they will change it next time. Or, even at a smaller level, maybe it will make EA decide to never bring back the microtransactions. And there's a whole other discussion about that too, which I know it's the side that you're on of these microtransactions were the reason why they said all the future DLC is free, is because they were going to make money with the microtransactions. Right. And so there's the fear that without that additional revenue. But I will also say that that's not an excuse. That's a bad model too. If you want to release meaningful DLC that is worth my $15, I will pay $15 for it. Don't nickel and dime me to make me feel like I'm getting it for free, because I'm not. If I can't be as good as the next guy because I didn't spend an extra $15, that's so much worse than asking me to spend $15 on DLC. Just make a good fucking game. Tune the game for the players that are paying full price for it. And that's how it should be developed, and that's how it should be sold. If it makes sense to have microtransactions that are purely cosmetic, Zero issue with that. Because you can engage in that or not. It has no impact on playing the game. But this is the worst case scenario of that, where it's a full-priced retail game that is pay to win. This is the dark future of video games that we've been afraid of for like a decade at this point. And it's happening with one of the biggest releases of the year. And surprise, surprise, coming from the most hated publisher in the industry.
I don't know, man. Like,
I know you're just sitting there like, ugh.
I don't know. Like, again, like I can't argue with anything you're saying because you're right, and other people are right to be mad and upset. But I don't have it in me right now. They caught me on a good week, I guess.
And I hope it's good. The single player, I hope it's good. It certainly hasn't been getting the greatest reviews, and kind of what I'm hearing about it makes me kind of go, ugh. I still want to play it, and I will find a way to play it at some point if it's from Redbox or, waiting a couple months and buying it used at GameStop. But my thing is, like, I'm not giving EA my money. That's just the base of it. And I totally hope that they learn their lesson. If not for this game, then for the next one. I totally hope that happens. I can't say that EA's, experience would lead me to have hope that happens, but I still do. And the biggest thing, like, I hope it's still fun. The people that have played it through, like, the EA Access or whatever, a lot of them still have come back and said, like, yes, the microtransactions suck. And yes, sometimes I get killed by someone that it doesn't seem fair because they got a higher level thing that I didn't get from luck or because they paid money or whatever reason. And that sucks, but the core of it's still fun. And, like, I don't want any video game to be bad. That's for sure.
Right, yeah, me neither.
Certainly a Star Wars game. And, I mean, part of my frustrations, too, is, like, them canceling that, single-player Star Wars game, which I read a big op-ed piece on Kotaku about that, like, apparently development wasn't going well. It wasn't just purely EA wanting to only do games as a service. It seems like that game was having problems of its own. Right. But, like, just the messaging of, like, we're going to cancel the single-player game and make the multiplayer game, like, horrible from a user perspective. It's not a good look. Not a good look. So, let's move on to some emails, or I guess Facebook messages. So you had two friends reach out, so how about you break these down?
Yeah. So one of them, I just put out kind of a catch-all on Facebook, like, hey, we're recording the podcast in a couple days. Anything you want us to talk about? This comes from CJ. Talk about people who drive slowly in the left lane.
See, I mean, obviously my perspective is a little different being in Atlanta, where really I would guess the only places that have worse traffic than Atlanta would be like downtown LA and downtown New York City. But yeah, it's a problem. Drivers just in general are a problem. I'm not, like, I used to be a very fast driver, but because I've gone several years of having no money, I'm always afraid of getting, several $100 speeding ticket. Right. So I've kind of slowed down a little bit on my driving. But I get behind people all the time that have they're on a joyride in that left lane. It's brutal.
Yeah, I guess. And Kara has some pretty bad road rage. She's a demon behind the wheel.
Kelly does too, yeah.
Yeah, she's cussing up a storm. But for me, like, I don't get mad at people on the road. Like, I refuse to get mad on the road. I don't know. Like, I'm some weirdo Zen person this week. After last week, after last episode, I was all worked up. I'm some weird Zen person now. But yeah, no. But like, seriously, just in general on the road, I don't get frustrated at people. Like, if someone's driving slow in the left lane, I'm behind them until I can get around them, and that's the way it is. That's life.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I wish that I could be that way.
Oh, and I still get mad at Call of Duty. Like, I will yell and scream at that game, but when I'm driving, no.
Kelly and I were talking about this the other day, and not to make an excuse about it, because it's definitely unhealthy to get so mad when you're driving. It's unsafe as well. Right. But we were talking about it, and I feel like part of it, at least coming from the Atlanta area, because traffic is so bad, everyone just wants to get home. And so it makes people drive in a really inconsiderate way. Like, no, I don't want to let you in front of me. I need that 1 second of my life back to not be on the road. And so people are everybody drives very selfishly.
Yeah.
And the way that I look at it, that I've always tried to look at it, is I am a defensive driver. I'm not an aggressive driver. I just drive defensively. And Kelly drives very offensively. And I get worried about her sometimes. So what else? What other message we got?
This one comes from Aaron as kind of a 2-part one. So the first part is, what are your earliest childhood gaming memories?
Okay. Oh, boy. I mean, our first console was a Genesis.
Yes.
And Dad also had a
Game Gear.
original Game Boy. And then a Game Gear as well,
Yeah.
So I would say... I mean, I know I played a decent amount of games on Genesis. Honestly, I didn't get hardcore into games until like the PS2 era.
Same.
But I played a lot on Genesis.
When you and I got the PS2 with Kingdom Hearts, that was like the beginning of a really good time.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know, like earliest, nothing specific jumps into my mind. I guess the most, like the one at top of mind is playing Vector Man on Genesis and not being able to get past like the second level because it was just hard and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And I mean, we played a lot of games on Genesis. Like, I love the Aladdin game, which was also crazy fucking hard. Jurassic Park game, I really liked playing as the Velociraptor.
Kid Chameleon.
There's another one. Yes, Kid Chameleon as well. That game was super
really
hard too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't
Teenage
have like
Mutant
any
Ninja Turtles fighting game where you can play as like
Yes.
the Triceratops. Yeah.
That game was kind of bad.
Yeah. Bubsy was also very hard. Also, weird
Yes.
thing, they came out with a new Bubsy game recently. Have you seen that?
Right. Yeah. Apparently it's super bad.
It's so bad. It
looks bad. I watched some video reviews, and it looks pretty terrible.
It's a bad game. Go figure.
I do remember watching Dad play a lot of Mario Golf because that was like one of the original Game Boy games as well.
On original Game Boy.
So that's like, when it comes to specific memories, it's like the second level of Vector. It might not have been the second, but there's a level of Vector Man where you're in like the woods and you're trying to jump up these trees. And
That's Vector Man 2.
Like,
that's Vector Man 2.
Okay,
Remember, you could change colors.
Yes,
You could be like the black Vector Man.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to progress, and so that was super frustrating. And I remember watching Dad play Mario Golf. Those are like the two that popped to my mind.
Yeah, and I remember watching Dad play Formula One on his Game Gear a lot. But then obviously like Pokemon Red and Blue,
Sure,
on original Game Boy. Or no, sorry, Game Boy Color. But then Mario and the Six Golden Coins, that was an original Game Boy game. I played a lot of that.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that had like that Clockwork Toys level, like everything, like all the gears and stuff.
Yes,
And you're playing like the different parts of this like toy soldier's body or whatever. And you're trying to make way up. Yeah, that was a good one. Trying to think what else.
It's not a first
there's a
memory.
baseball game. Bo Jackson
on Game Boy?
Original Game Boy.
I think it was a combo baseball and football.
Yes,
right?
yes, it was. Yeah,
I remember that.
yeah.
It's not like a first gaming memory, but one of the other ones that pops into my mind very vividly is PS1, the Rugrats game.
Oh man,
which was basically just like a collection of mini games, essentially.
Oh, but it was so good. Like
I remember spending a lot of time.
Were they puzzle pieces you were trying to get or something? I remember something about puzzle pieces.
I don't remember. I have no idea.
Yeah, but that was a great game.
Yeah.
And
I don't know that it was a great game, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. They had that putt Reptar course you could play. Yeah, that was a really good one. Crash Team Racing, like arguably better than Mario Kart at that time.
Sure.
I think CTR was a really good racing game. And then like just obviously Crash Bandicoot in general, but the Crash Bash with the party game, with all the different mini games.
That was PS1?
Yeah, Crash Bash. Yeah, we had Crash Bandicoot, CTR, and Crash Bash all on PS1. I think I've said this before, like when we were talking about favorite games, like in our pilot episode or whatever. But Metal Gear Solid, I remember going over to that guy's house with you that friend you had in the neighborhood, and you guys were playing Metal Gear Solid. I wasn't allowed to play it yet, but I went over there and like watched you guys play it, and I was like, "This is like the pinnacle of gaming technology."
Yeah,
it was
for sure.
Super cool. I'm trying to think. I remember going over to the Broadways in Wisconsin and playing Earthworm Jim on the Genesis. I remember we made this big cardboard box fort in their basement, or their dad did or something, and we had the Genesis on this little tiny tube TV in the box fort. Nice. We were playing Earthworm Jim. Maybe it was Earthworm Jim 2 or something. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, remember that crappy Pac-Man Adventures game on the Genesis?
Oh, hell yeah. The 3D one?
Oh,
that game was fucking hot trash.
Oh,
it was hot trash.
That made me so
I think
mad.
Mom got that because she wanted to play it because she loved original Pac-Man.
Right, she didn't
so she
know
like wanted
that
us
it
to get
was
into Pac-Man.
an adventure game and not like regular
That game
Pac-Man.
was really bad.
Yeah, that game sucked. I think Drew Scanlon played that on his Extra Life stream this year. I think I recognized some stuff. I remember like getting the milk bottle and stuff, and you'd like
it
try
was
to
like
throw
a
the pellets.
collectathon basically.
Yeah, you're trying to like throw the power pellets at him to like make him go certain. Oh, it was a hot mess. Any other ones? I remember playing all of Metal Gear Solid 3 in one go. Like
well, that's like PS2 now.
I know that's PS2. All in one playthrough. I played Metal Gear Solid 3. Sitting in our living room, next to the spot where you would, unbeknownst to me at the time, crack the back of my head against the marble corner in front of the fireplace.
Oh, jeez. It was an accident. You're fine. You're still here. Just lost a couple brain cells.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit dumber. Yeah, so just early childhood gaming memories. Those are... I don't have a good memory in general, but if I try really hard, I can pick out some moments. I remember Dad was on some business trip sometime, and we were like staying in a hotel, and I had my Game Boy Color, and because this was back when you and I only had the one Game Boy Color, so we couldn't like trade each other or anything. And I had Pokemon Red because you played Blue because Blue was your favorite color, Red was mine. So I was playing Red, and this kid was in this little park area right next to the hotel. It was more like a motel. It was like one story thing. There was like this little park bench with tree and stuff, and this one kid was out there playing his Game Boy, and I went out there to hang out with him, and he was playing Pokemon. He had green version, and I remember he traded me like a Bulbasaur because I had Charmander. Nice. He traded me a Bulbasaur, and I was like, dude, nice. Yeah, I remember that. And he had like Mew because he had been to like one of the events, the Pokemon trading card game events, and where he got it. Yeah, I remember that too. I don't know. Good stuff. So the second part of his thing was, what are some shows and films that have had a profound effect on you?
From a film perspective, I guess, and I think both of these inform the same thing, but I just grew up loving Jim Carrey movies. Like, he's the reason I wanted to be an actor and get into that in the first place, just because of his whole shtick. And obviously, you know, I was very much a mama's boy, and I remember Mom always being like, you remind me a lot of Jim Carrey. Like, you have the same kind of facial manipulation, whatever, and I don't know what she's talking about, but I just remember always watching him and being like, I want to do that. And that was more when I was younger. And more recently, the one that always jumps to mind is Scrubs, because that was when I was like beginning to take acting seriously and thinking about it as a career. And so for me, that was when it was like, this is the kind of thing I want to do. A television show that combines comedy and drama so deftly and like can make you laugh one moment and cry the next, and not in a manipulative way, but in a very real, like, character focused way. And that show just holds a very special place in my heart, because that's one of those shows that, like, I would be so proud to have been a part of. Yeah. And also a little bit of a side thing. We'll always be watching early seasons of Scrubs before it got because it got extra slapstick in season 3 and on. But in that first season, we'll watch it when it's a little bit more subdued and it's more like character comedy and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And especially the pilot. Kelly's always like, you would be amazing as JD. In the early seasons, she's like, this is a character that I could totally see you play. Which to me, that's a huge compliment. So
Right.
I always think about that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the ones that immediately jump to my mind. What about you?
Seinfeld for sure. I mean, informing not only my sense of humor, but also knowledge of various random pop culture things from
Sure.
not my era.
Yeah.
So I always, growing up, had knowledge of things that other kids didn't because of Seinfeld. Because we were always kind of watching it as a show out of its own time a little bit. So definitely Seinfeld. Gosh, I mean, Star Wars, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, definitely prompted my love of sci-fi and high fantasy. I watched a lot of Power Rangers as a kid. I don't know that it really informed a whole lot.
Had a profound effect on you.
I don't know that it
Power
informed
Rangers.
much, but I did watch a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, probably those three that I can think of: Seinfeld, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars for sure.
Yeah.
I would be content with only having the Star Wars game or Star Wars movies, only having the Lord of the Rings movies, and only having Seinfeld to watch. If I was trapped on a desert island and I had those, I think
Sure.
I'd be okay.
Oh yeah, I say it all the time that I could just watch Seinfeld just on repeat from the pilot to the finale, just over and over and over again, and never stop. And I would never not laugh at the same jokes I've seen dozens and dozens of times already.
Yeah,
The greatest sitcom of all time, undisputed.
for sure. I think that is an easy argument to win.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. Let's trip down memory lane a little bit there.
Yeah.
It is weird. I was thinking about shows and movies and stuff because a lot of people look at it as kind of that escape, which, not taking anything away from that, but that's just never how I have felt about it. And I think it's just because of, I love to write that kind of thing and I love to act. And I always look at it a little more, I don't know, self-reflectively, if that's even a word.
Sure. Yeah.
So a lot the ones that I think about, because there are plenty of shows and movies that I've seen that I love, but that haven't had that quote unquote impact on me. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So thanks to you guys for the prompts.
Yes, and absolutely. If you have any other further questions, feel free to obviously reach out to Kyle and I on Facebook. You can send a message to the Shea Hates Everything Facebook page, or if you are now old-fashioned, you can send an email to info@sheahateseverything.com. That's going to do it for today, but we have to finish with our Today I Don't Hate. So I will say that today I don't hate my fantasy football team because I'm currently winning 101-70 over my dad. Currently projected to win by 60 points.
Ouch. I'll have to text Dad my condolences later. So my name's Kyle. Today I don't hate Thanksgiving break. I get the whole week off.
I definitely don't hate that either. Obviously, I don't get the week off, but Kelly and I are leaving on Wednesday right after work, and hopefully I can get out work a little early. Driving up to Ohio to see you, my brother.
Oh, yeah.
So super excited for that.
We gonna tear it
We'll
up.
be able to, hell yeah, dude. I need to play some Switch.
Yeah.
So I can, or actually we should play some Switch with Kelly so I can keep convincing her to let me buy one. Although she's been supportive. She's like, dude, yes, just buy one. Stop trying to convince me. Just buy it. I'm but it's $500. No, just get it. Who cares? All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Kyle, as always, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.